concept modeling, introducing draw.io. So what we're going to do here is to take a quick tour of draw.io and then to use draw.io to enhance one of the sketches that we created. At this point, I'm not sure we've been able to create any sketch, but I might just work with this sketch and just create something out of that. Okay, are we happy with that?
Yeah.
Okay.
I am anyway. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So at this point, I'm just going to launch the draw.io. So I'm just trying to look at the best way to do that. So I'm going to use Microsoft Edge. And okay, so can you see my screen?
Yes, thanks.
Yeah.
So you can see the Microsoft Edge. So I'm just going to do draw.io. Oh, so this seems to be loading. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to discard this so that what do I do? Okay, let me cancel it. Okay, so what you see is when you try to start it up, it's going to ask you where you want to save to. For some, it's going to ask you the type of, let me say, decide later. I'm just trying to look at to just go out completely. Draw the title of yes, discard. Are you sure? Yes. Okay, so the idea is you have the ability to save your diagram into Google Drive, OneDrive, even GitHub, GitLab, Dropbox, and all that. So it means that you can actually put it on the cloud, and you'll be able to share it with other people. So you could actually collaborate on your design if you're working in a team, and if a team is working on a concept design, so you could actually work on it together. So for now, I'm going to put it on OneDrive. So I will say that I want to create it on OneDrive. Then it's going to ask you if you want to create new diagram or you want to open existing diagram. What I'm going to do is to first let me open existing diagram to just show you a few things I've done, and then we'll now, I think that's just going to motivate you to see what these two can do, and then we'll take it from there. My, what is it? Let me see. Okay, so my concept models. All right. So I'm sure that you'll be familiar with this. This is, one second. Okay, so this is just a mind map. Now, this is more like a conceptual design of a software application to see how they flow together, different components. Now, this is a simple framework. Now, this is something that shows you a systematic literature review design. Yeah, what happened in the planning stage, in the execution stage, and then in the reporting stage. Now, this is this.
Addy, can I ask a question, please?
Okay.
Is there any way you can make the screen bigger so that we can your screen bigger and then we can see it clearer?
Okay,
please?
so I'm gonna do that. Let's see. I think.
Much better.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, that's fine. So this is your mind map. So this is a mind map that I created using draw.io. This is a conceptual design, a mobile enabled web platform. It's just a software design. This is a framework that relies around dynamic capability, different dynamic capability and what they do, and how different construct within the dynamic capability framework, how they interact. Now, this is something that presents a systematic literature review approach. So the systematic literature review is sectioned into three main key processes, stages rather. So you've got the planning stage, the execution stage, and the reporting stage. And then this just shows you different components, what happened, different activities, and how those iterations within the activities and all that. So this simply just presents that systematic literature review. This is an outcome of, okay, so this is the framework. This sets the framework for this particular research, while, this brings out the findings. So that was more like a conceptual framework, and then this is the results, depicting that same framework. Now, this is robotic process automation. This just shows how a software robot interact with different application, at different layers. So again, you could use J.io to do this. Now, this is another example of conceptual model, but this again is a little bit more complex, showing interactions between social media, traditional media, and how they interact during crisis, the place of the organization, and all that. So this is an individual component of that bigger one. And okay, this is a virtual lab model. So at some point, there's this enterprise project that we did that we tried to, the approach is more like an asynchronous approach. So we want to see how different components, how that research evolve in terms of the activity. So this is a little bit complex, especially because you may not be able to see the big picture. But this explains what happened over a period of 4 weeks, how we interacted with about 16 families, and what they do, the outcome and all that, the problems, the solutions and all that. Now, this again is another one. This is another one. Okay, this is another framework that we design with this is open enterprise entrepreneurship in Africa. So this tries to just organize your thoughts, our thoughts rather, looking at different data sources, what we identify the constructs from each of these data sources, and how we're able to group them, across different factors, institutional capital factors, and all that. I'm showing, and then this is that example I made. I'm showing this just to how do I put it now? Just to allow you see what is possible, within this software. Then we now go into the details shortly after this. Now, this is a conceptual model for describing RRI and Ubuntu. So this is one concept. This is another concept, present. This is another model of the same concept. So what you see here is that the way we structure those components, gives it different meaning. So at some point you might need to look at your model and then tweak the structure severally to be able to present the meaning that you want. This is another one. Yes, and I think this is about all. So I'm gonna go back to yeah. So I'm gonna go back to draw.io now. Create new diagram. So when you say create new diagram, you've got different templates that you can make use of. These are wireframes for software development. These are Venn diagrams. So if you've got a lot of components and how they interact together, you can make use of these. This is UML, Unified Modeling Language for software developers, engineers, and all that. These are tables more for your project management. So you can also use this to see your work breakdown structure, timelines, and all that. This is for software development. So showing interaction between different classes or components of a software. This other just shows that there are this is more like different non-specific components or template that you can make use of. So you've got networks if you are into network engineering. So you see the interaction between different components of the network. This is mind map. This is flowchart. So you could actually click on any one of these and you start creating your model from any of these templates. And then it's free. This is engineering for people into electrical engineering and all that. This is cloud and cloud development. This is if you're creating different charts. This is for business models, the interaction between businesses and all that. What I do, I think for beginners, you could leverage on any one of these. And I think the question will now be, it appears we really don't have anything here that speaks to certain fields, for instance, the medical sciences and all that. So what I would like to say is that this solution is so flexible in a way that you could import your components and just use the tool here to project or present your idea or model your concept. So I'm just thinking about what to use now or the model to use. Um, I'm just thinking about the models to use. Okay, so let me just go through different models. So for instance, this is, let's say we want to create a model. You say use root folder. Yes. Do you want to replace it? Okay. All right. So this is a component that you can just make use of and you start developing or creating your model. Now, I would like to show you a few things about the draw.io environment. So what you have here is the elements. So you've got different elements here or different shapes. So you've got the general shapes. So you could just drag in there and then make use of. So you've got different shapes, pick out text and all that. You've got different lines and all that, labels. Now you've got miscellaneous. These are different shapes too. And then you've got advanced shapes. Now, the good thing is that you could add more shapes. So here you've got different types of shapes that you can bring in here. For instance, you've got electrical shapes, you've got material design, thread modeling. These are examples. These are material design, even floor plan. If you are into architecture and all that, you've got infographics. So if you want to present your information using different kind of infographics, you've got them in here. So you've got infographics, you've got, if I come in here, you've got cabinets, you've got stuff around value stream mapping, you've got Accumate, this talks about business process modeling actually. And then this is also another bit around business process modeling. Now, this is about networking. So you've got different components that you can make use of. AWS, Azure, cloud services components. So you've got Azure, you've got Amazon. Now, this is Amazon. This is Azure. You've got cloud enterprises, different components that you can use to represent your ideas for people in computing area. So you've got, this also speaks to offices, different office, Microsoft Office components. You've got racks and all that. Now, but what I do is that if you really can't find your components in here, it's possible for you to import whatever components from what's it called, Google. So you could just Google search whatever components you would like, and then you import them. I'm thinking that I could, what's the time now? 11:30. Good. So I would like to just search for a component. So let me do a search. Users. Usually, I prefer to make use of Google for my search. What is it called? For my searches instead of. So you got user icon. So you can have different images of user icons. So you could just look at any icon here, you could copy, and then where is it? If you copy that, let me create another page, and then I put it in there. You have whatever components you want in there. And then you could also, for instance, for maybe medical sciences, you want, for instance, maybe a laboratory icons, So you have different icons that you can make use of. So these are different icons that represent what you want to do. So let's say I want a tube, lab tube icon. Okay, so for instance, if I want to represent a blood sample or something, I could just click on this, and then I'll copy that, and then you put it in there. It's there already, depending on what you would like to do. Another thing is, please, you can stop me at any point and ask questions. I'm just showing you how to get in some of the components, which is more like the objects, those components that will represent some of the specific objects that you want to make your constructs or variable, whatever it is that you want to depict. And then here we have components that allows you to, this specifically speaks to your structure, So for instance, if I have, I'm putting in this here and I have a test. Okay, so I could make use of this to make the test bold or to make it bigger this way. And then I could have, if I've got a lot of tests here, I can decide to say it should be centralized or it should be aligned. So this speaks about the alignment. So here, this again, I could looking at the different lines, so I can decide to make the lines bigger. You know, I can decide to have a background and then work on the opacity of the background. For instance, if it's a very thick, so I've got something like this, and then I've got this text in there which is not showing or visible, and I just want to work on the opacity such that I'll be able to um, make it more visible, you know, so you have something like that that you can make use of. Okay, so these are some of the so you could also have a background image, for instance. So you could pick up an image from wherever I'm putting in there. Then you can decide to have different lines. So these are connectors, okay, that just shows you the connection between, so you could actually work on these different lines. I can decide to, you're free. I mean, the lines are flexible depending on how you just want to make use of it. Okay, so they're quite flexible. And then you could also change the texture of that line. So you could make it bigger. You could decide to change the arrow hand. Let me pick it again. So you could change the arrow hand. You could decide to say that, okay, change, have a bi-directional arrow. And then you could decide to give a different context. So you have, so this is more like a broken line, and then you can have different types of, so you can make this also a broken line. You can have different kind of broken lines and all that. So there is a lot you can do with this solution. So what I'm going to do right now is just to attempt to pick up that